It was the bombshell that dropped this morning as we were on the air. And it's something we all knew, and it's something the Falcons flat out lied about.
Kaboom.
In my humble opinion. It was the health status of Kirk Cousins, pushing some product with it being Super Bowl week. He was on with the NFL Network, and here is the first thing that he said about his football future.
Yeah, I still think I got good football left in me. And, time will tell. It's still kind of uncertain. We'll get to March and know a lot more. But, I think the focus for me really is getting healthy. And just that's really my focus is I got to get healthy. I'm no good to the Falcons. I'm no good to a team if I'm not feeling really good. And so that's really where my focus has been through January and February. Now the season's wound down, really taking all the time I can to get my body feeling really good.
So the Achilles, the ankle around the Achilles, he's getting healthy. That's the key to that statement. But wasn't he healthy all along? Because, Dimino, that's what the Falcons told us. He was healthy all along.
They gave you your best chance. He was healthy. They asked him on a postgame. Raheem Morris at postgame press conferences. It's not an injury thing. It was Kirk Cousins, by the way, who said it was a clerical error. That was a walkthrough that Wednesday practice.
So that's following the Saints' loss, and that's leading into Denver.
They went to a walkthrough, which, by the way, again, maybe that's normal, but when your quarterback can't throw, they said that's an estimate, by the way. When you have a walkthrough, you're estimating he would have been limited. He wasn't limited. But then Thursday, he was not listed on anything. And he went out and he played the next week, and he went out and played the week after that.
Right. And I say following the Falcons' loss because it was during this loss where Kirk Cousins revealed this morning on the NFL Network.
I think the Achilles healed well. I think there was a little bit of just trying to get my right ankle back around the Achilles, but the Achilles itself healed really well. And even then, we were 6-3, was playing well, doing a lot of good things, even if the right ankle wasn't perfect. Nobody's perfect in this league. We're never feeling 100%. So it didn't really affect me too much. But then against the Saints, got hit pretty good in my right shoulder and elbow. And from there, kind of dealing with that, was something I was working through and just never really could get it to where I wanted it. And so now that the season's over, you have the time and the energy to say, okay, let's get the right ankle back. Let's get the shoulder back. Let's get the elbow back. And if we can do that, feel like I got a new life ahead of me here in pro football.
What word did I use? Was it just yesterday when I said, how do you describe really what goes on in Atlanta?
Damn. That was on Friday.
Damn.
It's another moment.
Because, I don't know if you know this, I don't really want to tell anybody, but ESPN has picked it up. And here's what they said. Previously, he and the team had maintained that he was healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So they threw the team in there on an ESPN.com. Damn.
So, for tampering, you lost a draft pick, you got fined. Are you going to get fined again? Are you going to lose more draft capital? Are you in trouble if you're the Falcons?
I don't even know what the rules are anymore with that. I don't like the injury report. Because
he was never on the injury report after that.
Yeah, but maybe he was hurt and not injured. I don't want to play semantics here, but if he's playing, he's not so injured that he can't play.
This is gross.
It just feels like, sure, let's just make it a little bit worse. It wasn't bad enough you lost that many games in a row. It wasn't bad enough that you didn't pull him out sooner. It wasn't bad enough that either Michael Penix wasn't ready or you estimated he wasn't ready, and that might not have been the case. You might even tell me that we still thought, even with Kirk limited, not so injured that he can't play, that he still gave us best chance to win. I just feel like we're in line for another damn moment because you sold me something post-game. We're not taking him out. We're still in the playoffs. He's healthy. Bad patch. Bad game. And now you find out that the guy himself is saying, and it's in the ESPN article, I read that thing verbatim. Previously, he and the team had said he was healthy.
Yeah, that's the sentence that was written accompanying this Kirk Cousins article. So gross negligence is the term that I used earlier, and I'll use it again on the part of the Falcons. So let's go back to the time where they signed him to this record deal. Obviously, if Cousins is saying this, and obviously when you look at the game plan or lack thereof against the Steelers, he wasn't ready to play. He wasn't 100%.
Well, he certainly does. Here again, I'm going to go with this. He wouldn't be the first guy that you say, hey, we're not going to have him rip footballs on Wednesday and Thursday. He's not going to rip footballs. We'll just have him go around, he'll do this, he'll do that. But we talk about timing. We talk about being a first-year guy with Kyle Pitts and everybody else. You do have to practice. And I know he's got a lot of snaps under him. But if you're not having him throw because he's banged up, then you're losing the ability to put Michael Penix in. I'm going to ask a dumb question. I remember a couple of times on Wednesday where we said they just went through a walkthrough. Now, were you going through a walkthrough because you didn't have your number one quarterback? Wouldn't that have been a great day to have Michael Penix rip footballs?
Michael Penix wasn't taking reps with the first team when everybody knew this guy wasn't healthy.
How do we know that? Because
gross negligence.
How do we know that? Because Drake London said, yeah, he really hadn't thrown a lot of balls to me. So if you're going through a walkthrough on Wednesday, why would that not be a day? And again, I'm the idiot. You're not on a time constraint in the NFL. It's not college. It's not high school. Why would you not have your receivers and Michael Penix off to the side? Then when I hear you going through a walkthrough on Wednesday, why don't you actually have them on the big boy field taking reps that your quarterback who's hurt can't take? How do you get better as a receiving corps? How do you get better as a quarterback, 15-year veteran, first-year guy, if you're not ripping footballs at certain points during the week? Throwing against at least enough, quote, enough coverage where you're getting that guy reasonable reps.
So I know we're talking semantics at this point, but do the Falcons try to talk to Kirk Cousins now and say, listen, you may want to double back and say, yes, I was hurt, but I never told the organization I was hurt. And how do you know?
Hurt. How about I was hurting? I wasn't injured.
But
I know what the difference is in this league. Yeah, I was banged up. My shoulder and elbow were banged up. I wasn't injured. I was hurt. It's an injury report, not a hurt report. Again, I'll play semantics. Can I go to a court of law and win? I don't know. Would the NFL fine me because I went to a court of law to try to say it's not a hurt report, it's an injured report? We know the difference between injury and hurt. He was never injured, he was hurt.
Either way, how do you sit back and let this play itself out when over 5 games he throws a single touchdown pass?
That's the problem.
And 9 interceptions.
And you had him at practice all week where he's probably going, yeah, not today. I'm not going to throw it.
I still think he got hurt initially in that Dallas game. Did he make it worse with another hit that he took in the Saints game? I don't know. But remember, to go back through that timeline, briefly, he was on the injury report leading into that week when they were going to Denver. Briefly.
All I'm going to tell you is, why does New Orleans look like the thumb game? Because against Dallas, he had 3 touchdowns, no picks.
And it was late in the game, though, where he took that hit when he fumbled. Mm-hmm. It was later in the game after he had success. So I don't really know if that was the start of it. But briefly, but because of a clerical error, he was taken off the injury report when everybody knew what was going on.
What's a clerical?
They get blown out in Denver. They lose to the Chargers. Cousins is horrible in that game, horrible at Minnesota, horrible in a win at Vegas on Monday night, where Louis Riddick and the announcing team late in that game are saying, oh, they got to do something, anything to protect Kirk Cousins, who obviously isn't the same. Everybody knows it, and the Falcons, like I said, either way, like you talked about from the movie Casino, either you were in on it or you're stupid. Either way, I can't trust anybody now in this organization to make any decisions because you have no idea what you're doing based on this alone.
It's another thing they're going to have to answer to, which I didn't want. It's February, whatever. The Super Bowl is going to be played this week. My team really shouldn't be talked about. I got a head coach. I got a general manager. I really should be out of the news. And I know that locally, there's a little thing that could put you in the news locally. ESPN.com just put this up as a main story on the NFL.com.
Because it is a great story to talk about from an NFL perspective because you had a quarterback that was lied about. Either he was lying or the organization was lying or everybody was lying.
Why couldn't he just go on that show and pitch some Windex? Whatever the hell he was pitching.
I go back to what we talked with Todd France about, and we've talked about this before. Sometimes you forget where you're at. Sometimes you have a real rapport with someone that you're talking to, and you don't even realize what you're saying. But this goes back to, again, gross negligence on the part of the Falcons. My best guess is no one talked him through this. Nobody from a PR standpoint said, look, remember.
I don't want to get into this.
Remember the injury deal. Because I'm going to say why I think it was that way, and I'll allege it was that way, because I don't trust anybody in that organization top to bottom. It's incompetence.
I shouldn't be in the news the Tuesday before the Super Bowl. I got a head coach. I got a general manager. I shouldn't be in the news.
Not to mention the fact that now this story is growing, something else we talked about at the beginning of the show that we talked about last week, but for some reason now is a bigger story. Terry Fontenot was the only GM not at the Senior Bowl. The only one. And the other teams who didn't have GMs there don't have GMs. How's that possible? Gross negligence. I'll use the term again. All of that applies to the Falcons and everything they do. All of it. Damn. That too.
Yeah. I don't want to be in the news on a day like today. And now, again, I don't know what a clerical error is. I do remember when all this happened. And then we heard about walkthroughs. So that meant, again, I'll go to Brian Finneran on some things, other things
They weren't practicing.
I'll
they were
stay
going
away
through
from them.
walkthroughs.
But how are you as a receiver? If you're Brian Finneran, don't you want somebody throwing footballs to you?
Well, Finn talked
Seriously,
about
on
it.
Wednesdays and Thursdays. And
Yeah.
then Fridays, certainly, where you go, hey, let's practice going to the back pylon.
Let's say the starter, and Finn talked about this during the locker room when all of this was going on. Let's say the starter, you got 12 reps. So the starter, give the backup like 4 or 5 reps. Give him half the
If your
reps if you
starter
know your
can't
quarterback's
throw.
banged up. Exactly.
Yeah, that's my chance to actually give Michael Penix time with the big boys.
I'm going to say it again, gross negligence.